All right, joining us now with more reaction on the High Court's ruling surrounding birthright citizenship is Mr. Eric Edgars, Vice President of Research at the Government Accountability Institute, co-host of the Drill Down, and author of Fraud: How the Left Plans to Steal the Next Election. Eric, it's always good to see you, my friend. Welcome back to the show.
Glad we have stuff to talk about. It's kind of a busy day here in the news, huh?
Busy to say the least. And let's start with the top story in America right now. Yet again, the High Court's ruling surrounding birthright citizenship. I'm curious, your immediate response, sir.
Well, I agree with your previous guest, Renata. I don't believe this is the last word on this discussion. This is actually something, this decision by the Supreme Court is something that many people, even people on the conservative side of the aisle, I think anticipated was happening. It's something people kind of read into the decisions previously last week by the Supreme Court that kind of gave the Trump administration wins on immigration enforcement policy. The reality is the 14th Amendment says what it says. We have the right of soil. In the decision, the 6-3 decision, they referenced English common law. So the idea of being born on the land and then being subject to the sovereign entity that owns that land is something that dates back centuries. But as they discussed in the Supreme Court arguments, which, by the way, Donald Trump was present for, we live in a very different world now. And so I think the justices had to kind of grapple with the world is different when 8 billion people can get on a plane and now all of a sudden have a child that becomes a U.S. citizen. That wasn't the case when the 14th Amendment was written. But as Justice Roberts said, it's still the same Constitution. And I think you saw that same Constitution be reflected in the ruling today.
Yeah, Eric, it's no secret. It's been somewhat of a roller coaster ride for the president with regard to the High Court's rulings, if you will. A win yesterday, a win today, a loss, yet again, ups and downs. Overall, what do you think the president's reaction will be?
Well, on this issue specifically, I think he'll be quite disappointed because remember, we're going to celebrate 250 years here this Saturday of the country's creation. And in the country's 250-year history, only one time has a sitting president of the United States attended Supreme Court arguments in person, and that was Donald Trump attending them on this issue specifically. So it was very clear that Donald Trump, he issued this executive order. He wanted to end the concept of birthright citizenship. I don't think because he's anti-immigrant, but because of the ways that it's being exploited. We talk about that at my organization with my colleague Peter Schweitzer all the time. The reality is countries like China are actively exploiting this policy. And has led to potentially the creation of up to 1 million voters by 2030 who will have dual citizenship in China. And we believe that means potentially allegiance to the Chinese Communist Party, which is in opposition to U.S. sovereignty. So, it is a national security issue, which is what you saw Justice Alito reference. It's why, as Renata mentioned, the dissent is 2/3 of the 194 pages. So people have very strong feelings about this, and I would imagine the president will be among them.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see and or hear what the president has to say. Eric, you were kind enough to join us, and I want to give you a platform yet again to promote your book. You are the author of Fraud: How the Left Plans to Steal the Next Election. A lot of folks are saying that may very well happen. What say you, sir?
Well, what I would say is that book actually came out in 2018, Guy. And so, it's up to the viewer to decide what happened in 2020. There's clearly some historical aberrations, but I think that my book raised what were incredibly relevant issues about election security. That's another thing that President Trump has made a big priority. And I think that as we've seen over the last 8 years since my book came out, I think people take election integrity much more seriously. It's why you saw a sitting United States Republican Senator, John Cornyn, lose a primary because he refused to back, I think, common sense election reform measures like the SAVE Act. And so you've got people in California and in Washington State gathering signatures to require proof of citizenship or proof of voter ID when they actually cast ballots or when they register. So I think people are kind of waking up. If citizenship can be as easily attained as being born in this country, as the Supreme Court affirmed today, then the rights of that citizenship should be also taken seriously. And that includes participating in elections that people can trust the accuracy and the results of.
Well said. Yet again, Mr. Eric Edgars, Vice President of Research at the Government Accountability Institute, co-host of the Drill Down, and you see it right there on your TV screen. Yes, I'm making reference to the book, Fraud: How the Left Plans to Steal the Next Election. Eric, always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend.